Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I am the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield, and it is time to talk about the 2022 PDGA Pro World Championships. Da-na-na, da-na-na. So, folks, it's here. We are days away from the start of Worlds. 5 rounds in Emporia, Kansas to decide our next pair of world champions. And look, the documentary about the 2021 World Championships in Utah came out yesterday. It's on the Disc Golf Network if you're a subscriber. You don't have to pay extra this time. Just standard DGN subscribers can check it out. And, the combination of the drama around that tournament, the incredible final rounds, the finish, of course, the holy shot itself, there was just, it's going to be hard for 2022 Worlds to reach the highs of what we saw last year. And just like the stories from last year, but I couldn't be more excited. I think like this is the one that everyone wants to win. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter when it happens. This is the one.
It is. And even as other tournaments, get more prestige, as the European Open comes back on tour, Champions Cup, our new major for this year, the history at USDGC and Winthrop, it's still about the World Championship. It's always been about the World Championship. It probably always will be about the World Championship. There's something about now the 5-round format that makes it unique. It makes it a marathon, and it makes it feel that by the end of the tournament, the best have truly risen to the top and come to that occasion. And it makes it just an incredible tournament to watch every single year. And even when you are not as excited about the location or the venue, I still think that it sets up for just some incredible action. And I know I'm going to tune in every single round.
This is must-watch live disc golf time, folks. We're going to break down all the brass tacks today, courses, tee times, how to watch, all that stuff. We're going to get into some player odds. We're going to get into some player chances to win. We're going to do some tier lists for players who have a chance to win the championship. So lots to do and more to come on a special Monday edition of the Upshot next week to get you ready for Tuesday's opening round. Unfortunately, this is a Tuesday to Saturday tournament. I hope this is the last year that this happens. It's just not right for a disc golf tournament, really of any type, at the professional level to be ending on a Saturday. Please give us the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. It's just better that way. But it is what it is. Tuesday to Saturday are your round days for the World Championships. So, lots to get into here. I want to start with just some general background on what the overall schedule is and how that's going to play out. So, again, 5 rounds. We start at the new Jones Supreme course, which debuted at the 2022 Dynamic Discs Open. And, they kind of took the Jones Park Gold layout and safaried it in some ways into a more difficult track that I think in some places was a little too hard. Mm-hmm. We were talking, was it in the interview or off the air? I think it might have been off the air, but we were talking to Robert Burridge and he mentioned that hole 1 now has a wall behind it. So remember, that's the island hole that was just absolutely eating people alive. So now there's like a backstop back there, which I think will probably improve that hole, Josh. And we can talk more about that in our course chatter. So they'll play Jones, then they'll play the Emporia Country Club course that's been around for many years now. Back to Jones after a reshuffle of the pools. So they're taking both the MPO and FPO divisions, splitting them in 2 based on rating. The top-rated players will play Jones first, and then the lower-rated players will play on the other course. After 2 rounds, they reshuffle the pools, and the top half joins let's call it the A pool. Mm-hmm. That's the A pool and the C pool for FPO. And then they will play Jones again, Emporia again, And then they'll have a cut where it will cut to the top 90 MPO players plus ties and the top 32 FPO players plus ties. And the final round will be held at the Country Club, the fifth and final round at ECC after the cut. The broadcast on Disc Golf Network will begin at 9 Central for FPO. That's 9 a.m. Central Time, and 2:30 p.m. Central Time for the MPO. Unlike some other tournaments where there's a lot of players, both divisions will play the same course each day. So we're not going to see the split courses. That's what we saw last year, split courses between the two divisions each day. So in this case, it's going to be Jones, Emporia, Jones, Emporia, Emporia, and FPO in the morning, MPO in the afternoon.
I think there's a couple of things of note about this format. Number one is that all players are given a chance at both courses before the pool shuffle, because it's going to be very clear that there will be no coverage of the lower pools. You may catch the occasional, image of lower cards on the A pool or the C pool, the top rated pools for both divisions. But if you get shuffled into the lower pools, you're just not going to make it on coverage. So I appreciate that they do it equally after 2 rounds where every pool gets the chance to play both courses. The cut is taking place after 2 rounds each, with the final coming at Country Club on Saturday.
Yeah, so even if you start in the lower pool because you're a lower rated player, you still have an equal competitive opportunity. I mean, I suppose there's arguments about potential weather condition differences, but
welcome to an outdoor sport.
This is a totally correct way to handle a giant tournament like Worlds and make sure that you're prioritizing the media coverage of the best players.
Yep.
Because if you random shuffle them to pools, you're going to have great players who are on cards that you basically can't watch, and that makes no sense. So glad they're doing it this way. Let's talk a little bit more about the media, and before we get to the courses. 4 cards of post-produce for both divisions all weekend. 4 cards. I mean, it's going to be hard to miss something important. Let's just put it that way. This is as deep as we've ever seen post-production go, and it's going to give us an opportunity to catch everything. Live coverage, of course, will be on DGN. It's first 4 days are behind the paywall. Final day will be free on YouTube. Your commentators on MPO, Ian Anderson on play-by-play, Nate Doss and Brian Earhart on color in a 3-person booth, with Terry Miller on the course. For FPO, yours truly on play-by-play, Val Jenkins and Elaine King on color, and Terry Miller again out on the course doing what he does best. So that DGN coverage will also include a little special note this particular tournament. They're going to have some camera coverage of particular holes at Emporia Country Club. I don't know about Jones, but I know at ECC, 16 and I think 18 are going to have cameras on them all day. I think they're going to get their own separate streams, but they're also going to be used throughout the broadcast. So, if somebody throws an ace on 16, we're going to be able to see that during the broadcast. So that should be a cool feature this year. And that's the basic plan right there, Josh. How are you going to consume Worlds?
I am going to be tipping my phone up in front of my monitor at work and knocking it down when people come by my office. Because
DGN needs a boss button.
That's what we yes. Here's the one thing I'm gonna say. If you don't have intention of watching live, now some people's jobs may not allow them to. I understand that. But if you're allowed to listen to music at work, you could still put up the live coverage and just put an earbud in and listen and hear what's going on, and then take a quick 10-minute break and go watch what just happened if it's really important. You gotta watch it live. And I understand that the schedule isn't as conducive towards it because, like you mentioned, Charlie, the Tuesday to Friday are all the first 4 rounds while a lot of people are at work. But if your hang up is that you aren't a DGN subscriber, first off, I tell you to go be a DGN subscriber. It's great content, and watching live tournaments is just the best way to consume tournaments. But if even if I can't compel you to become a permanent DGN subscriber, go sign up for this month. It's going to cost you a couple bucks, and you sign up this month, and then you just cancel your subscription as soon as Worlds is over, and you get a month of it, right? So watch 1 month of coverage for live, and then decide. But if you didn't watch the Holy Shot live,
That's a massive L.
It's a massive L. Don't do it again. Fool me once, shame on me. But
fool me twice, can't get fooled again.
That's right. It's done. It's on you. Do not miss the live coverage of Worlds this year. It'd be crazy to do so. We've had some incredible finishes, some incredible playoffs, both this season and of course at Worlds last year. And it's noteworthy that not only are we talking about the Holy Shot, but remember, Charlie, when FPO happened, I remember saying to you, wow, I don't know if MPO is going to be able to top that shot. Because Katrina Allen's shot on 18 was just incredible. It was incredible. I was like, if this is how, if it's a blowout in the final round of MPO, then who cares, right? We got a great world championship. The fact that we beat FPO was just shocking. Don't miss live Worlds, please.
Well, it's certainly going to be a lot of fun, and if you do like to watch posts, there's plenty of that for you as well. The weather forecast. Josh looked at the weather. He's like, thunderstorms every day.
Okay.
I looked at the weather in my app, and it was like sunshine and, 85 degrees. It's going to be hot. We might get some storms. We're recording this Wednesday morning. The tournament's over a week away. We really can't say much yet about the weather. We'll check back in on our Monday show. How about that?
Risk of precipitation is definitely showing.
More notably, the wind should not be a terrible factor like it was back in the spring.
Right.
Which we expected that. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some wind. It looks like most days when I was looking, it was saying regular average wind around 8 to 10 miles per hour with gusts around 20. Like, that's wind. Yep. That's going to affect the flight of the disc, but it's not going to be an absolute clown show out there like it was back at DDO. So, Josh, let's talk about these courses.
Okay.
Let's start with Emporia Country Club. 3 rounds there, including the final 2 rounds. What do we need to know about ECC?
Emporia Country Club is a course that, as you mentioned, Charlie, has a long tradition on the Disc Golf Pro Tour and on the National Tour. It was formerly the Glassblown Open, then renamed the Dynamic Discs Open, and has been the features course of that tournament for as long as I can remember. I mean, you'd have to go back a long time in order to find when it was not a staple of the elite tours in disc golf. Emporia Country Club has a couple of features about it. Number one, it's long. It is a long course. And while it doesn't rival our ultra long courses like you have on Portland, OTB, some of those courses that have been coming up in recent years during the COVID era, at 9,800 feet, it still is an incredibly long course, notably because a lot of those holes have pretty punishing OB. There are more, even hole 1, right off the bat, you have a golf fairway that's largely defined by OB on the left and an OB road on the right, that wind pushing either direction gives you risk of going out of bounds. And so you're going to see a lot of shots that will change based on where the wind is. Hole 1 is an iconic one, a starting hole that is a long par 5 at 999 feet with tight OB green as well. I think a big staple that you're going to see a lot of is that this course does follow a lot of golf courses fairways. That's something that notably at the OTB Open, they talked about how they don't follow the fairways and they kind of redefined and play the more safari layout. At the Country Club, you're going to see a lot of them that do follow the shape of golf fairways that then give that kind of distance and natural shape to it. Emporia Country Club also has one of the most defining holes on disc golf. That is hole 16. It is a true island hole with a bridge that leads out to the little island. You have a back wall that's a stopper, but it is by no means an easy hole in the wind, especially 320 feet. Ace definitely in a possibility. We saw Matt Bell hit that ace in practice that gave $25,000 to him from Eric. And then, but it also just has countless bogeys. We've seen more than one tournament get ruined on hole 16 because of how close the basket is to the edge of the island near the water. If you go long, comeback putts are dangerous, but it's so close that it feels like you kind of have to give it a bid. Plenty of players have gone OB on their putt as a result.
A lot of courses have an island hole that feels like the defining feature, but very few, maybe none that I even know of, have a real ass island like this. This is an island in the water. Yeah. This is not a hay bale half island. And it's very cool because of that. It's a beautiful shot. Spectators can line up all along the fairway, watch the disc fly over the water. It's aceable. It's double bogeyable. Like, there's a lot going on with this hole. And some iconic moments. Mm-hmm. You know, I will never forget watching Valerie Jenkins just park this hole with a lead at the 2016 World Championships that she won after years of not having won a world title. You know, she could have laid up, and instead she sticks it. And Ricky throwing in right after his sister passed away, and just like the incredible emotion of that moment. And we've seen big mistakes here as well. So it's a classic hole. There's going to be some amazing moment, either good or bad, at some point during the week, maybe multiple points. That's just how this hole goes.
Yep, it is. And I think that defining moment, it's at the perfect spot. I love that it's on hole 16. We've talked about hole 17 at Winthrop plenty. And you know, where it is positioned on the course also plays an important factor in the signature hole. Hole 16, I think, is an excellent spot. This hole does play over par just slightly in the final round of last year, or of the Dynamic Discs Open earlier this year. Hole 18 is a par 4 that it's not bad, not my favorite. It's not a. I don't find it to be a signature hole and that sets up with quite the same excitement as a lot of other hole 18s that we've seen recently. But it does have challenge, and good players do bogey this hole. Good players do take pars when birdie is absolutely in the question. So it's fine. But I think hole 16 is really the defining hole that you're going to see make some drama when it comes down the stretch.
And then, of course, we have the new Jones Supreme. There are some changes. We're going to try to get a list of notable changes to these courses since DDO for our show on Monday, so we can kind of dig a little deeper on that. But suffice it to say, Jones is going to be very different potentially because the wind conditions are going to be so different. But Josh, take us through the new Jones Supreme.
Jones Supreme does come in actually a little bit longer than Emporia Country Club at 10,700 feet. And it's a course that, as you mentioned, Charlie, it's a safari park course, one that is defined by holes that really have some opportunities for some lower ceilings, but some very punishing OB in a lot of places, or at least it felt that way at DDO earlier this year. Our only look has been in absolutely brutal wind conditions. Scores at the Jones Supreme course for the round one hot round was 6 under, and then a handful at 5 under, which was 60 strokes. Round 2, 60 strokes was your best, with Ricky and Caleb Bruce shooting that. After that, you had a couple 4s, but I mean, a majority of the field shooting over par on Jones Supreme for the MPO side. For the FPO side, your hot round was 2 unders. There were only 2 rounds at under par in round 1. In round 2, there were only 5 rounds under par. It's with the wind, a very difficult course. It's going to look completely different though when you're playing it in different conditions. I really think that Jones Supreme has a feature, in a lot of ways kind of looks like a Lake Eureka sort of style, where you have the best use of the land that's available, but on a property that never really felt like it was designed for disc golf. And so you're going to see extensive OB defining this course. James Conrad, after this tournament, when was asked about kind of the OB and how he approached the strategy to this course, he said, if you're going to throw OB, you might as well make sure you're close to the pin. And that really seemed to be the attitude during the heavy wind rounds at Jones Supreme, where players would just throw as far as they could, making sure to cross inbounds as close to the green as possible, and then staying in bounds was honestly a secondary concern. I think that strategy is going to change somewhat for the upcoming weekend, but on the holes that, on a course that's truly unrefined, I mean, we're playing a layout that has only been used once before and now is being featured at the World Championship. I would not be surprised to see that happen at other holes on this course, where players are really just trying to ensure they get further down and then not dealing, because the OB is just not as tested as I think it probably should be for a World Championship. Hole 1 is probably one of the signature holes on this course. It's an island hole with a low ceiling, kind of a tunnel downhill. This year, as we mentioned, Robert Burridge said that there is a backstop for this event, but prior to, it was an incredibly difficult hole where even layups weren't safe given how small it was, and the landing zone just really was difficult. This hole played 0.61 strokes over par for the MPO, and the hole is less than 300 feet. Over on the FPO side, it played almost 0.7 strokes over par in round 1, and only had one birdie in that entire round. That was Holland Hanley to hit it. Macy Veladiaz was the only other one to get in circle 1 in regulation on that hole. So for a sub 300 foot hole in the wind conditions, absolutely brutal. Hopefully with moderate wind conditions and a backstop, we're actually going to see some players who are able to attack and stick this green.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to play a little easier, although I think it's still going to be a difficult hole. Mm-hmm. Even coming in, sub 300 feet, it's a very technical shot, and you couldn't swing the hyzer out because it was so windy. Like, people who were trying that were just having their disc get just ripped left. So we'll see how that plays this year, particularly in the morning for FPO. I think it could be more attackable. We will see. Interesting note about this World Championships compared to what we've had the last few years. There's not really the open wooded combo. This is a pair of open courses. Controlled distance is going to be the critical factor. You need to be able to throw far, and you need to be able to stay between the lines. There's a lot of water on these courses, particularly at Emporia, but there's also water in play at Jones, which, obviously it's just OB, right? OB is OB, you could say, but I think the water psychologically adds an interesting element to things. And what we're going to see is that the players who are able to throw far are generally the ones who succeed out here. You're not going to want to look to your wood specialists to have any kind of chance to win this weekend. It's just not going to happen. There obviously are shots that are technical. There are shots that sort of mimic what you might call a wooded hole. But we're in the plains of Kansas, folks. Like, there's not woods. There's no woods. Mm-hmm. So this is, I don't know, somewhere between being like golf coursey type like courses and park. Like, I would say, like, if the spectrum is like dense woods to, moderate woods with some open to park to like built on a golf course, largely playing the fairways of the golf course, we're somewhere between those last two categories, basically for both of these layouts. So look to the people who've done well here before, look to the people who can throw it really far, and I think you're going to find the players who are going to be able to be successful. It is not, Brewster Ridge combined with Fox Run like we're going to have next year when we return to Vermont. So
best courses in the world.
It's in some ways, it doesn't feel like the typical test that is asked of you at the World Championships, where it's like you need to be able to play two very different courses well throughout the week to win. And here it's like they're different courses, but the tests required are similar.
Putting is not going to be the factor to win. And the windier it is, the truer that's going to be. Your ability to advance down the fairway, hitting circle 1 in regulation. I really think that circle 1 and circle 2 in regulation are really going to be the stats that you're going to want to watch this weekend for the greatest amount of success. I imagine OB numbers are going to be lower. No, I don't imagine. OB numbers will be lower than they were earlier this year. However, I still think that OB is so plentiful on both of these courses that it's not even going to be about who minimizes OB. I think it's going to be about who minimizes OB at the critical times. You're going to see large number of OB strokes, I think, across the field, and players who just are so afraid of the OB and it's paralyzing are going to find themselves playing too safe to really be get in position in order to score the courses as they need to be. I expect the winning players to have a fair number of OBs, but overall to have a really strong strokes gained tee to green number, because that doesn't factor in the OB. Those two things can simultaneously happen for the winner this weekend, and it's what I'm predicting.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look back at DDO, now the wind conditions made putting even weirder than usual. But Ricky led the tournament in strokes gained tee to green, and that was about 17 strokes gained. His putting, 4 strokes gained, a marginal impact overall, and he dominated. I mean, he won this tournament easily. Yeah. He won by 6 strokes over Simon Lizotte. So worth noting that Simon and Jake Hebenheimer, who finished tied for 3rd, were both top 5 in strokes gained tee to green. And, you know, mediocre putting, to be honest. The real key was to not go OB too much. You know, Drew Gibson was 3rd in strokes gained tee to green. Didn't putt great, but it wasn't awful. But he went out of bounds 25 times compared to Ricky's 15. You cannot give up 10 strokes like that. And I think that's going to be more true this week with the wind conditions a lot more favorable and OB becoming, as a result, sort of more punishing. Like everyone was going OB. What was the fewest? I'll let you guess, Josh. What was the fewest OB strokes taken in MPO? For someone who didn't DNF.
It's got to be double digits. I'm going to say 10.
It's a great guess. It was 9.
Okay.
Tim Barham had 9 OB strokes, and then Nate Perkins with 10, and then on up from there. So
where did they finish overall?
Tim Barham finished in 80th. Nate Perkins finished in 68th. The best player to avoid OB and finish high, Aaron Gossage and Logan Harpool both went OB 12 times, and they finished tied for 3rd.
Okay.
This was a crazy tournament. There were a lot of players tied for 3rd. Remember this one?
I do. But
Vino, Gossage, Harpool, Hebenheimer, and Brody Smith.
That's right. I will say, though, the 12 to 15, though, I don't see as being a significant difference.
Sure.
Given how high those strokes were, maybe 3 will be a big difference based on the number of OB that people have this weekend. The biggest thing I think is going to be scrambling after you go OB and still being able to save par or at least minimize big numbers. Ricky had a 53% scramble percentage, just highest in the field. Next highest is Kyle Klein, who was at 48%, a full 5 percentage points below, and he was down in 13th and lost to Ricky by 11 strokes. So,
yeah. So that's kind of the look at things as they stand. Over in FPO, just talking about DDO from earlier this year, Kristen Tatar beat Katrina Allen by a stroke. Kristen Tatar was first in the field in strokes gained tee to green, 21 strokes above everyone else. Basically tied with Ella Hansen. The difference maker was that Kristen had a good putting weekend and Ella did not. Ella finished tied for 3rd. And but the Bomber Arms were up the top of the leaderboard. Kristen, Katrina, Emily Beach, Ella Hansen, Paige Pierce, Haley King, Valerie Mondahano, your top 7. So Josh, I got to be honest, I'm not going to be surprised to see a very similar top 7 this time around.
Without a doubt. And I really think that players like Ella Hansen, the advantage that Ella Hansen has is that while she is a bomber. She doesn't have necessarily the experience of playing in the wind to the same extent. She just doesn't have the same years with her discs, right?
Sure.
And throwing disc golf discs. So I think that a decreased wind is going to favor somebody like Ella, but on the flip side, it's also going to reward putting a little bit higher, and it's going, Ella's deficiency in putting, she was negative strokes gained, 3.79 strokes gained. You have to go down to Valerie, who was only negative 0.73 in order to find the next negative. In the top 6, she's the only one with negative strokes gained putting. But in a world where it's this windy, we talked about this, putting is a little bit masked because nobody can putt well in the wind. That's not going to be as true this weekend. And so I think Ella gains the benefit of having, not quite the same level of wind. And so she's really going to be able to take advantage and harness that power. On the flip side, though, putting becomes more important. And I don't think that is much to Ella's benefit.
So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to make a tier list. Players' championship chances. We're also going to take some odds and percentage chances that are given to us by Statmando and talk about those, maybe talk about placing some bets. I think I have a fun little game for us all to play as well. So Josh, stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Upshot.
The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Well, it's time. Rufus Round 2 starts today. Unlike Round 1, which was released as pre-orders, Round 2 will be released in batches over the coming weeks. Starting things off, the electric blue and purple colorway, which is going to drop at 5 p.m. Pacific today. They're ready to ship, so make sure you head over to pounddiscgolf.com and have those mouse clicks ready to go to grab yourself a Rufus bag today.
Welcome back to The Upshot. Time to talk about who's in the top tier. Who's in the top tier? Who's in tier 2? We're going to put players into tiers as we talk about their world's chances. Josh, why don't we begin in FPO? Who you got in tier 1? Let's start with a couple obvious names and get them out of the way.
All right. Tier 1, man, that's so hard. I guess if I have to, I'll probably put Paige Pearson tier 1.
Paige Pearson tier 1, not going to have any arguments there. Winningest major champion in FPO history, already has 2 major wins this year. Look, I don't know if she's going to be considered the outright favorite. We'll talk about that, but she's clearly in tier 1.
Yes. She also, in her 4 starts, so we have Statmando provided stats from 2018 Dynamic Discs Open on till this year's. Is it 2017 or 2018?
This goes back to 2017, last 5 years.
Last 5 years. This does not include the 2016 World Championships.
Correct.
Notably, so we'll discuss that as we go, but that's a small caveat. Otherwise, the last 5 years, 2017 up till now, Paige Pierce in her 4 starts has 2 wins at DDO. That's the best of anybody else in the field. I mean, you have to think Paige is, whether it be Worlds or her performance at DDO, you've got to keep Paige in tier 1.
Obviously, Kristen Tatar is also going to be in tier 1. She won the DDO earlier this year. She's probably in the best form of any FPO player right now. She hasn't missed a podium at a Elite Series or Major in her career. So it's just it's been an incredible streak for Kristen Tatar, and she is the odds-on favorite per Statmando. They give her a 35.2% chance to win, compared to Paige Pierce at 14.8%. So more than double the chances of Paige Pierce. Do you buy that, Josh?
That's a little high for me.
We'll talk about it when we talk odds. So
here, fun fact about Kristen.
Give it to me.
Kristen is 1 for 1 at DDO.
Yeah,
the
in
past 5
Emporia.
years.
That's right.
In Emporia. Kristen has never lost in Emporia. So, I mean, I don't, maybe those numbers are right.
Yeah, when you look at the average finish, Kristen won. She's played it once. She's won it.
Yep.
These are Emporia stats. Paige Pierce average finish 2.25. Can you guess who the next best average finish is? I'll give you a hint. It's a player who's only played it once.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll just go over to the FPO results from earlier this year. What was it? So Kristen won. Katrina took second. Who took third? We just talked Ella. Is it Ella?
It's Ella.
It's
finished
Ella.
third.
Yeah.
Sarah Hokum, average finish here is fourth. That kind of surprises me. She hasn't won it, but she's got a podium, a couple of top fives. I don't think that she said it herself. Like, she's not going to be competitive to win this year. So anyway, Paige and Kristen are obviously in tier 1. Are there other players in tier 1, Josh? Where do you put Katrina Allen?
I think Katrina Allen is an interesting question. She's got a couple things going for her. 2 Elite Series wins this season, as well as the reigning world champion, and a long history of strong performance at the majors. On the flip side, though, I think she's the clearest of the FPO players who has not been playing well over the most recent stretch since the European swing. 4th place at European Open, great performance. However, her 6th place at D-Glow is her next best performance, has not podiumed or finished in the top 5 after coming back from Europe. I think it makes it an interesting discussion, but at the end of the day, I still am going to put the reigning world champion at first because this is a place that she's played well at before, and I just don't think that her recent tournaments are enough to knock her completely out of tier 1.
I mean, the reason that I think I have to keep her in tier 1, despite the struggles of late, is that number 1, it's Worlds. She's gonna compete. And number 2, what did I just say about these courses? Controlled distance is going to be the real critical requirement out here. Katrina's got that.
Yep.
Katrina's got that. And, you look back at earlier this year and, she's right there with Kristen. So I think based on performance in Emporia and the fact that this is a major championship and the fact that the course sets up, controlled distance is probably Kat's number 1 skill. Hitting fairways on long lines. Now, she's not as big of a bomber as some of these other players, but I think that she's going to be able to avoid the OB a little bit better than others, and she's got plenty of distance to compete. So I think you have to keep her in tier 1. And, Paige even told us, right? Katrina is her number 1 competitor. I don't know that I necessarily agree. I think Kristen is probably the bigger threat, but Katrina has got to be considered tier 1. Do you put anyone else in tier 1?
Nope.
Neither do I.
No.
My first player in tier 2 is going to come as perhaps a bit of a surprise. It's Ella Hansen. She's not necessarily a tier 2 player on tour, but at Emporia, I think that she has a fantastic chance. We saw her look very sharp. She played Jones better than just about anybody. And no, it was ECC. I'm sorry. She was unbelievable at ECC, and we get 3 rounds there. So with the wind a little bit down, I think, I don't know that she can putt well enough to win. That's going to be the question mark. But for me, she's clearly in tier 2, given the courses.
I think I agree that she's in tier 2. I don't know if she's the first person I put into tier 2 in this category. I think the first person I'm probably going to put into tier 2 is going to be, what? This is crazy. This is crazy, but I'm going to say it. It's Owen Scoggins. These courses do not set up well for Owen Scoggins' game, and I recognize that.
Wow.
But if Val Jenkins can win 2016 Worlds, Owen Scoggins can win 2022 Worlds. It's as simple as that. If she is able to stay in bounds and avoid the OB, if she's able to take advantage of Jones Supreme, a course that other players are not as familiar with, which means the kind of control and consistency that Own demonstrates is going to be incredible. And I've said it a couple times already, though, that putting is going to be undervalued unless Own is able to putt lights out like she does anyways. We've seen Own with some putting performances that are truly unbelievable, and I really think that if Own can do it, it's a big if on this one to me, but if she can putt lights out at this course, hitting 60 footers will be enough to keep Own in contention, and she has been more consistent than just about anybody else on tour. I like it. I like Own. I like Own this weekend, and I'm going to keep that consistency up there.
Wow. I mean, look, she's been competing on courses that you wouldn't think she would be competitive on. She did not play DDO this year. Mm-hmm. She was 12th at the one time she's played in Emporia, but I mean, she's clearly been playing her best golf of her career this season.
Yep.
So I don't think it's crazy to have her in tier 2. I think she might be a tier 3 player for me this weekend, but she's good. She's proven that she can compete. The player we should probably be putting here first, though, is Haley King.
Yep.
And you know, Haley King, it's been a weird season. There's no question about it. She skipped a lot of tournaments, but she showed up at U.S. Women's and looked awesome. Mm-hmm. And she's certainly capable of coming out here and playing well. She finished in 6th at DDO, 11 over, but had some good rounds, like played, shot a 68 and then a 66 at Jones. And those were good numbers. Like 64 was a really good score. 64, 65. Kristen shot a 61 in round 2, which was the best. I mean, that's currently the course record. But Haley was right around those numbers. So she's going to just have to play. She's going to have to play better. It's as simple as that. Over at Emporia, she shot a 79 in round 3, which just like totally torpedoed her chances. That was 11 strokes worse than Ella Hansen's best round of the day at 68. And then we saw Kat shoot a 64 in the final round. Haley did better that day, shot a 70, but she's just going to have to play better over there. How do you not put her in tier 2, though? She has all the talent to be able to win this tournament.
Well, don't forget, she also won DDO last year in her title to winning the national tour on the FPO side. Haley King is absolutely in tier 2. I really think the biggest question mark is just the fact that we have not seen as much of Haley King this season as we otherwise would have. Here's a big question for you, Charlie. Valerie Mandujano.
I was going to ask you the same question.
I beat you to it. It means you have to answer it. Where do you put her? She has multiple wins this season, one of few players to do so, including a win at Portland, which a long course. Owen took second there, by the way, but that's a side note. She's also got a Silver Series win at Beaver State Fling, where second place USWDGC played really well at Throw Pink last year, so she's got kind of a high pressure performance as well, but it feels like she's cooled off. Where do you put Valerie?
Ah, man, she really has cooled off. I think for me, she's the first player in tier 3. I don't think I can put her in tier 2. She played decent at DDO. 13 shots off the win, but was in 7th. I'm like trying to, like tee to green, she was okay. Didn't putt great. Didn't go OB a lot. I think that's like a probably a good sign, but I don't really put her in the list of players that I think can really win. And I think to be in tier 2, you need to be somebody that I think can win the tournament. And I think that Valerie can win the tournament. So I'm going to put her in tier 3 because surely she is capable of having a great weekend and winning. I mean, she's got a lot of Elite Series wins this year, but she's just not in form right now.
Yeah, I think I agree. Do you have anybody else in tier 2? I don't think I do.
Some players who I think could be on another weekend are not. Missy Gannon, tier 3 for me this weekend. Cap Merch, tier 3.
Yep.
Like who else are we talking about here? I mean, Sarah Hokum, but I mean, there's no way you could put her in tier 2 at this tournament.
I don't know if I don't think I even put her in tier 3. I think she might even be your top of tier 4.
No, we're doing a dumb thing though, because they're not present in our mind because they haven't been playing that many tournaments. But the Europeans, Evelina is for me definitely in tier 2. You can't put her in tier 1 because of the putting. But she's probably the number 1 player in tier 2. Like, that's how good she is off the tee.
Yeah.
And we just talked about how important it's going to be to play well off the tee this weekend.
Yep. I buy that. That checks out. I think you're right. I think Evelina is in tier 2, especially because we've seen some performances this year where she had mediocre putting weekends and all of a sudden she's just as much as a threat to win as anybody else. So, I like Evelina in tier 2. I have 2 others in tier 3 that I probably put. I think Hannah Blomroos probably goes in tier 3 for me. She also excellent from tee to green, and I think can really play well here. The other person I think probably deserves tier 3. I like... never mind. I'm going to take it back. I sneaky like Maria Oliva this weekend.
Oh, sure.
Maybe tier 3, but she's got the distance.
Control is a more question to me.
It's me too, and that's kind of why I started to back that one up.
Here's one for you, tier 3. I actually feel pretty confident about tier 3. Like, I even considered tier 2. Holland Handley.
I like the pick.
Has been improving. Has the power to succeed. How did she do at DDO? She finished 19th.
Not great.
That's true. It's not great.
I mean, the control, right? A young player who has power, but you also have to think about the wind and her experience in that kind of wind.
I'm putting Macy Vela Diaz in tier 3 as well.
Yep, that was my next tier 3. I think so, 100%. Do you put Jen Allen in tier 3?
No, she's tier 4.
Tier 4, okay.
Tier 4 with Missy Gannon. Natalie Ryan.
Yeah.
Tier 4 for me. Alexis Mondahano. I mean, tier 4 gets pretty big.
It does.
I may be disrespecting Missy Gannon here a little bit. I can't see her winning here.
That's fair. And I don't know. Do you think Missy Gannon has better chances than Owen Scoggins?
No.
Okay. I also don't. But I wonder.
She probably should be in tier 3. I mean, but I don't think I do. I'm sticking by it. She's tier 4. Would take like
to your guns here.
An electric, out of body performance to win.
Okay.
Capable still. Like, we're not even going to get to the tiers where it's like you can't win. Tier 5 and below is you can't win. Like, maybe you could do something interesting, but you won't win.
All right. I'm gonna ask a crazy question here. Does Kona Panis deserve any consideration for even tier 3? Her putting numbers this season are identical to her putting numbers at DDO last year, where she finished 5th. She just
had her best performance in quite some time. And she certainly has the power.
She took
compete.
sixth at European Open.
Yep. Tier 3 or tier 4? I got to put her in tier 4.
I think that's right.
Has to play out of her mind.
Yeah. I don't think top 10's out of the question for her, though. Top 5 even.
No, I agree.
If she has another European
could win.
performance.
But what
still could win.
Last question I have before we move to MPO. Right. Emily Beach finished 3rd at DDO.
Uh-huh.
Where do you put Emily Beach?
I've
Emily
got to
Beach
say
was second
tier
at
4.
D-Glow. Second at D-Glow.
I've got to say tier 4. 2 good performances, even though they're at this course included, is just not enough for me for a 5-round tournament of a player of completely unproven major quality. USWDGC 13th, didn't play European Open, Champions Cup 16th. And I get these are completely different courses, but she also is 12th at LVC. So even on a course that sets up similar, and you've got the third, but it's not like every time she's in the Open she dominates.
No,
she's had 2 good weekends, but we've got 2.5. We've got almost 2 full 3-round tournaments that she's gonna have to play this weekend. I can't trust her. I put her in tier 4.
All right, let's move over to MPO, and your highest rated players. Here's your 1040 club: Eagle McMahon, Ricky Wysocki, Paul Macbeth, Chris Dickerson, Matt Oram, Calvin Heimberg, and Gannon Burr. Of course, Eagle has not played since the European Open, which he won over Paul Macbeth when they were both playing out of their minds. So he's back, and let's start with tier 1, Josh. Eagle, tier 1?
Yes.
Gotta be, right?
Yes. You'd be silly not to. The guy just won European Open. Yeah, Eagle's a yes for me. Ricky's a lock for me. Paul is a lock for me.
Sure.
Those 3, no questions.
I don't even think we need to talk about it. Like,
right.
There's not much to say. Ricky's been unbelievable in Emporia. I mean, let me give you some stats here. Ricky has played over the last 5 years, 5 Emporia starts. He's won it once, has had 4 podiums, and has never missed the top 5. His average finish here is 2.2, and this doesn't even include his Worlds win in 2016.
Right.
And of course, he just won DDO handily earlier this year. 6-stroke win. I mean, you don't see that much right now in MPO.
Nope. And coming back as a DD sponsored player.
The whole thing. This is like, this is the one that would mean a lot.
It would.
This is the one that would mean a lot. It'd be like, I don't know. It's just been a long time since he's won a major. It's been a really long time. And it's like hanging over his head a little bit. And that he couldn't ask for a better chance to win than here. Macbeth, 3 wins in 5 starts.
Has he done well at Worlds before?
I don't know.
What are those claw marks on his disc?
Eagle has a win in Emporia. He also has 3 podiums in 4 starts. He's never missed the top 10. And the way that he showed up and played at European Open, I mean, how can you not consider him a clear tier 1 option? So those are easy, right? Those are easy.
Yep, those are easy.
None of us are like really questioning that. I don't think anybody would question any of those. So then the question is, does anybody else belong in that tier? And names that you could consider here: Chris Dickerson, Simon Lizotte, Calvin Heimberg, maybe Gannon or Matty O. Any of them make tier 1 for you? I have an answer that is yes for one player.
Really?
For one of
for
those
one
players.
player?
Yes.
Is it Simon?
It is.
I think that was if I was going to include anybody, it's Simon. His ability to win this season, and on courses that I think are favorable for Emporia, including a second at DDO, which began his real hot streak. Remember, the ability to win 3 times in a season shows that Simon is in form, and a form that is not matched by many on tour this season.
Simon shot a 61 at Jones in round 1. That was 2 shots off Thomas Gilbert's 59. It was one of the best rounds of the weekend. And then played much worse in round 2. And then he shot a very pedestrian 69 in round 3, the first round at ECC. But then went on to shoot the hot round 59 along with Kyle Klein and Anthony Barella on the final day. So he's he had 2 rounds, one on each course, that were near the top or at the top of the rounds that week. That to me is incredibly important because remember, this was the first time that he really had a good tournament. And then he went on to win 2 tournaments following that. Obviously, we saw him hit a little bit of a rough patch over the last few weeks, but then he comes out and he wins and looks great doing so at DMC. How do you not put somebody with 3 wins, having just won, and having played well at DDO in anything other than Tier 1?
Yeah.
He has to be in Tier 1.
I think that's right. The only knock I have against Simon is that Simon does not play as well at the majors. And he's been open about that the pressure and it gets to him. And so, that's the knock against Simon in Tier 1.
It's fair. Let's look at his major history. Okay. I'm going to pull it up right now.
Okay.
European Open 16th. Okay. When is the last time that Simon finished in the top 10 at a major? Can you guess?
2018 probably.
It's a pretty good guess. It was 2019 Worlds. He finished 8th. He hasn't
19,
finished.
was that Peoria?
19 was Peoria.
Yeah, because that on the 2019 World Championships, Charlie walks out on the fairways.
It was crazy though. Okay. Konopishte 2018 was his best finish at second. He also had a second place finish at the Aussie Open in 2015. That's the only times he's been in second. He's got 2 other podium finishes, European Open 2017 and the 2017 Worlds in Georgia. So it's just a fact. Like, he hasn't really played well at the majors, and he's been bad since 2019. He's been bad.
Right.
53rd at the 2019 USDGC, 69th at the 2020 USDGC, 17th at 2021 Worlds, 20th last year's USDGC, 35th at Champions Cup earlier this year, and then 16th at European Open, which European Open, him finishing 16th is terrible.
Yeah, come on, Simon.
His second place finishes have come at majors where there was not a big field, not a strong field, Konopishte and Aussie Open. So that is a knock. It is a knock, but he's playing the best disc golf we've seen him play in his whole career right now.
Yep.
He just won. He just birdied 8 of 9 holes to win a tournament.
Yep. All right, I like Tier 1 then. It's fair.
Okay.
Top of Tier 2 for me.
Easy answer.
Easy answer? You're crazy. How's it easy? I'm giving it to Chris Dickerson.
Okay.
I'm going to reward major performance here. In a group of, I think Tier 2 is probably 4 players deep for me. And in that world, I'm going to give it to the guy who's a multi-time major winner. That's how I'm going to especially given that
Sure.
I think Chris Dickerson has the skills to still perform well at Emporia.
Sure. I buy it 100%. For me, the answer is Calvin Heimberg. I think he's at the top of Tier 2. They basically played about the same at DDO. Calvin has the controlled distance golf shapes that I think are going to be very effective in Emporia. And, I think obviously Dickerson is on the list for me as well. He's next. So it's not like there's some kind of big drop off or
Calvin's
change.
my second.
Yeah. So what do we see? Chris Dickerson putted really bad at DDO but was otherwise like quite good. Tee to green, he was second behind Ricky. So that's definitely a point in his favor. I think overall, though, Calvin's been the better player this season. And so that's why I favor him there.
That's fair. Next in the list for me, got to be Gannon Burr. Do you disagree? Interesting. Okay, look. That guy has been... How big
is Tier 2?
I've got 4 players in Tier 2. Yeah, four players.
You've got Calvin and Chris and Gannon and who?
Yep. And James.
Wow. James.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look, he's not been good this season, but if I'm going to put Chris at the top for being a multi-time major winner, I'm not going to leave James, a multi-time major winner, out. That's.
I think I only have two. I think I only have two players in tier 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Really interesting.
I think Gannon and Kevin Jones and James Conrad and Kyle Klein are in tier 3.
Interesting.
Gannon is a very talented player, but this is the World Championships, and I just don't feel like he is on the same tier as Calvin and Chris.
Interesting. I
mean, James Conrad, James Conrad deserves the credit. But how can you look at the way James Conrad has played this season and put him in tier 2?
Because that's how he's played every season and still won a major over the past 2 years, including in a course that you and Jamie called the most unlikely win in major history.
I understand, but listen.
No.
He hasn't been the same player this season. He has not been as good. He has not finished in the top 10 as much. He has not finished on the podium as much. He has not been particularly impressive this year. I'm sorry. There's just no way around it. Now, I hear you. And he has sort of won championships seemingly out of nowhere, but like where are the signs? Like at the Elite Series this year, his best finish is 5th at Preserve. Oh no, he was 4th at Texas States. But the last 3 tournaments, 20th, 29th. 20th at European Open. That's a major, Josh. I just don't see it.
Okay. Last year, up until Worlds, his best finish was 2nd OTB. After that, he didn't have another top 5 at an Elite Series. He finished at 8th in the Pro Tour standings. He's at 9th right now.
I understand. I'm just telling you, I don't think we've seen... He is averaged below 1030 golf at like 5 of the last 7 tournaments. You don't care.
Look, I just don't. I really don't care this time. He took 33rd at Portland the week before, or 2 weeks before he goes to Pro Worlds and wins it. He had 9th at Masters Cup, the 2nd at OTB, 14th at DDO, 21st Mid-America, 14th at Jonesboro. I mean, an unimpressive resume. And you would have been saying the exact same thing going into Worlds last year, that he doesn't belong in tier 2. And you would have looked silly because of it.
All right, well...
But be real, would you have put him in tier 2 last season?
Probably not.
No, I wouldn't have. The only reason I'm putting him in tier 2 now is because he's got 2 majors and he shows up. That's important. Gannon, I respect the Gannon argument. I could be compelled to put Gannon in tier 3, but like I'm just not going to look silly because
that's fair.
James can throw just as far and he's controlled.
Matteo, where do you put him?
Tier 3.
Me too.
High rated, but just not good performance.
I have Kyle Klein in tier 3, although I think he has a case to be in tier 2. He has a case because of how well he's been playing these last few weeks. He hasn't missed the top 10 in quite some time. But he's still tier 3 for me.
Needs experience.
And just, Calvin and Chris have wins.
And James.
James doesn't want a tournament this year.
Oh, that's fine, but he has wins in general.
Okay. Fair.
I guess so does Kyle Klein, but anyway.
I get your point, though.
Yeah.
You have him in tier 3 as well?
Yes, I also have him in tier 3.
Joel Freeman?
Tier 4. He's played well.
I think I'd have him in tier 3.
That's fair.
He's been around the win a bunch.
He has. He's played well enough this season to justify it. I just don't think he has the mental game to survive a 5-round world championship.
All right, let's talk about these players who finished in the top 3 at DDO. Okay, here we go. Brody Smith.
Tier 4. 5. Tier 5.
Oh, you think he has... I say tier 5 means you don't have a chance to win.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that you're necessarily wrong. I just want to make that clear.
Brody can't win Worlds this year.
I agree with you.
No,
he's a
in
little
tier
hurt
5
right now. I also put him in tier 5. Aaron Gossage.
High tier 4. Like compelling argument even for tier 3.
I don't think he has an argument for tier 3, but I do put him in tier 4.
Yeah.
Could have third, if he had played lights out, he could win.
Third at DDO, third at OTB. Yeah, tier 4 though. Anyway,
Vino Makala.
Tier 3.
Wow.
I think that Vino Makala has a couple of things going for him. Number one, I mean, he's just an excellent player. He's gotten more events in the US. And the big thing, I mean, he's got some up and downs. He has the skill necessary to win.
Sure.
Not as consistent in his performance for sure, but he has the skill, and he also, well, not majors, has high pressure situations, European Disc Golf Championships, championship format golf in Europe that I think replicates pressure of the World Championship as well. So I put him bottom of tier 3.
I have him in tier 4 along with Nicholas Antela.
That's fair.
I think that they would both need to have an amazing, once in a lifetime type weekend. But I don't think it's out of the question. Okay, a couple more names for you. Isaac Robinson, Elite Series winner.
My tier 3 might be too generous. Tier 3 for me.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted. I want to finish my list of people who finished third at no, it's my fault. At DDO. Jake Hebenheimer.
Tier 5.
Yes, I agree. Logan Harpool.
Tier 5.
Sorry, guys. You had a great showing, but I don't expect it to be replicated at the World Championships.
I don't either.
Okay, so that is that. Okay. Anthony Barella. He has played pretty well lately, Josh. Where do you put him?
He has played pretty well lately. I still put him in tier 4. He has the distance, but in terms of the mental game, I just have never seen from Anthony Barella the mental fortitude necessary to win a 5-round tournament.
He also went out of bounds 24 times at DDO. Not exactly his strength, keeping it in the lines. Let's see. Who else to talk about here? Who else?
Where do you put Nate Sexton?
Oh, man. He was 21st at DDO.
Mm-hmm.
For me, he's tier 4. I mean, you got to give him credit. Like, you can't say he can't win. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen him show up at Worlds. But he just hasn't been playing as well lately. He just hasn't. He's starting to get a little old. I don't know if he has the distance to really hang in there. He could win if he has an incredible weekend, but that's a tier 4 player.
There's one guy. I mean, the Barsbarians would be mad if I didn't bring it up because Greg Barsby is a former world title winner in 2018 who is in the field. So I think it's fair to ask where you put Greg Barsby.
Tier 5.
No chance to win.
No.
Ooh, interesting. I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
It's tough but fair, I think. It's tough but fair. Well, we already listed those guys. I think we've gotten to most of the big name players. Anybody else you want to try to slot in here?
World's Whisperer Emerson Keith.
Oh, World's Whisperer Emerson Keith. Tier 4.
I think so too.
How about Drew Gibson?
Hot take. Tier 5.
Wow.
That guy couldn't hit the fairway if his life depended on it. That guy's got more OB strokes over the past couple of years than most of the field combined. Like, you cannot win. You're not going to win at Emporia, at Worlds, or 5 rounds if you throw OB more than anybody else in the field. You can't do it.
25 OB strokes for Drew Gibson at DDO, which was more than anybody. Wait, hang on. How deep do I have to go? Was it the most? It couldn't be the most. Could it be the most? It was literally the most OBs of anybody.
Can't. And that's not a one-off. Drew is always the most OB.
Wow.
And at some courses you can overcome that. 5 rounds in Emporia between Jones Supreme and Country Club. He probably could take top 5. He's good enough to overcome that. But the spray and pray, you cannot win. Cannot win.
His OB rate this year is 13.7%. That is 308th on tour. So hang on a second, because I want to know, where does that actually stack up overall? Stand by. I don't know how many players are on this list. It's there's enough players who are listed on like the UDisc standings page that it's kind of hard to really like assess this, but It is not good, right? He is way below average. And do I really think Drew Gibson deserves to be in tier 5? I'm going to put him at the bottom of tier 4. I just think like he's
crazy.
He's capable. He's capable of having the weekend where he just is great. Do I think it's likely? No. But to say he's in tier 5, Drew Gibson?
Okay. Here's the question for you. Over under. Yeah, this seems right. We're gonna say over under. I'll even stick the same number, 24.5 strokes for Drew Gibson.
OB strokes.
Yep. Not as windy, but you have a 5th round.
We have the extra round. God, that's a good number. I'm going to go under.
Okay. There's our first over-under of Worlds. We'll be having plenty of them.
We're going to get a bunch going.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Now I'm going to introduce some predictions and some odds given by Statmando. And I got a game for you, Josh, and for all of our listeners and anybody on the internet. We're going to give you 100 virtual ulti-bucks for you to place bets however you want on the odds given by Statmando. And whoever earns the most money from the World Championships will win an Ulti-World Disc Golf and Upshot prize pack. And got a bunch of goodies to send your way. Totally free to enter. Check out, we're going to have a form up on the description and on the website so you can enter. And the only rule is you have to put chips on at least one MPO and one FPO player. Otherwise, you can distribute them however you want. You can go all in on a couple players. You can spread it out across multiple players. And the only way you earn money is if the player wins. So you got to make sure that you consider that in your bet. So in FPO, the top win percentage players, according to Statmando, Kristen Tatar, 35.2% chance to win they give her. And that corresponds to a plus 170 money line bet. So that would mean that if you bet $100, you would win 170. Paige Pierce coming in at 14.8% chance to win, plus 530. Katrina Allen, plus 680 at a 12% chance. Some other notable names. Haley King, only given a 2.2% chance to win, plus 4,100. Bet $100 to win 4,100. That is going to be a popular one because I think that number is crazy. And over in MPO, Eagle McMahon given a 40. The model originally gave him a 44% chance to win because it's like weird low round issues, but that's been corrected. They give him a 20% chance to win. Paul Macbeth comes in at the highest, 21.9% chance, plus 330. Eagle, 20% chance, plus 370. Ricky, plus 680 at about a 12% chance to win. Then Dickerson, plus 1,100. Gannon Burr, plus 1,200. Other notable names, Simon, only given a 2.6% chance to win, plus 3,400. So bet $100 to win 3,400. So some spicy lines, Josh, and we're going to think about them. Yep. You're going to think about them listening. You're going to place your bets. We're going to place our bets, and we will go through these odds once again on our Monday show and talk about where we think players stand and where the best value is. Sound good, Josh?
Sounds great. So we'll publish these odds for everybody to view then?
Yes, we will.
And make sure to fill out your form.
Fill out the form. Get your bets down. We will be back on Monday, early show, for our picks. Not only in the contest, but of course our picks to just straight up who's going to win the tournament. We're going to do some more over-unders. We've got some other Worlds Preview mailbag as well. So if you have questions about the World Championships, get them in, upshot@ultiworld.com. Hit us up in the Discord if you're a subscriber, and we cannot wait to get started with Worlds Week next week. That's going to do it for today's show. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Monday right here on The Upshot.